Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
All right, everybody, welcome to a brand new episode of the Frankly Francisco podcast. I am your host, Francisco. Today, I have a special guest. He has a following that's starting to blow up like crazy on IG. This man is on every IG live, going back and forth, giving his opinion on everything you can think of. He is almost at 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. He has his IG page. He also has this. I mean, he's multi-talented. He's a professional wrestler. He's military. He has a spoken word album as well. I'd like everybody introduced to DeJuan J. How we doing, DeJuan?
I'm doing very well. Thank you for having me and allowing me to come on here and have some fun with this conversation.
Yeah, man. Of course, man. I've seen you everywhere, man. You were just blowing up, and you are just, every IG live I see. When I see you on, I always log on to see what the conversation is going to be, because you have strong opinions, and sometimes people don't know how to handle those strong opinions. So you have a YouTube page, you have your own podcast, but everybody has their own set of followers. So tell my listeners about yourself a little bit. Let them introduce yourself and tell them what you do.
I think you kind of covered it in the intro. Pro wrestler, author. I actually have a book out available on Amazon right now called Dear Dominic. Spoken word album, Before They Kill Me, The Premonition. My personal, pro wrestling like fan page is up there on IG. GROWNmanlogic, the podcast, like you said, we're rapidly growing. We're 6 months old, man, and we're basically a podcast attempting to build better people through critical thinking and accountability.
So one of the big issues that I've seen in a lot of the lives that you do is people don't like how you deliver that message. Sometimes they may think it's a little rougher on the edges. I appreciate the candor that you bring, and I appreciate how you deliver your message, because everybody should be able to be true to themselves and deliver how their message however they feel is necessary. So why do you think that is? People have such an issue with the way you tell your story and the way you deliver the message you want to deliver.
I think it's because I pull no punches. I give you my opinion, right? But as you've seen on the lives where, if somebody comes across with a better point than me, I can see the point. Or if somebody, proves me wrong or what I think. And there's episodes of GROWNmanlogic where my mind's been changed about something. But I'm going to make sure that you know what you're talking about, like before I'm listening to you. I think that my delivery is a direct one because we don't have time to play around and coddle people anymore. Right. America is, over 200, over 300 years old. We're approaching 300 years old. And minorities in this country has really never had a place, but we're not doing anything in 2021 to better our situation. And it's been the nonviolent, we shall overcome. It's been the let's just march about it. Let's do a sit-in and peaceful protest. But at the end of the day, we can't go out and riot and burn entire cities down, screaming Black Lives Matter, and then go home and shoot the guy because he's wearing the wrong hat or the wrong color. That's bullshit. So when I deliver this message, I'm delivering it from a point of frustration and hurt, because we're ultimately our own setback at this point in the game.
And I agree 100% with the perspective that you bring, because my last podcast was about basically the same subject. It was about how Hispanics and Blacks have 1 or 2% chance of becoming millionaires in this country. And I tried to explain in my last podcast that this country wasn't built for us. You know what I mean? It wasn't built for us to be prosperous, and we need to change that narrative. But sometimes, folks don't want to go along with that program, and we shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes. And I appreciate that you're very candid about how you feel and the message that comes across. Some people are, I don't know if it's because we're in a hypersensitive culture now that everybody's sensitive to everything that's said. I don't think they can deal with somebody who's very blunt about how they feel.
Well, I think that I agree with you. I think that first off, let me say this. I think that we're a lot more tolerant and respectful of individuals. In terms of that, I think we're in a much better place than we used to be. In terms of, you know what I'm saying, you can love who you want to love. You can, essentially do what you want to do. But with that, the consequences with that is that people are now too sensitive, right? There was a time when you could give somebody constructive criticism. Hey, I think this, and this. And now you cannot do that. There was a time when men were expected to be strong, silent, and that wasn't attractive and turn on to a woman. Like if you go back and listen to old like Little Kim and Foxy Brown records, they talk about the men being like strong, silent types, right? And you the old movies, they were the strong silent types. But here we are as a platform. It's my job to attempt to better the community. Like a platform is literally built at an angle from the people listening to or looking at that platform, right? So if that's the case, and I jump on live and I live a certain type of lifestyle, and I consider myself like extremely successful. I'm a competitor in the arena, in the financial market, in the looks market. Like I'm a competitor, and I mean,
I love the confidence. I love the confidence.
I mean, it is. I mean, it just is. Like, I don't think that I'm a bad looking individual, right?
Yeah,
and I know, I know for a fact that my bank account doesn't look bad. I know that, you know what I'm saying? Like my household's taken care of, and I'm going out and I'm achieving the things that I wanted to achieve, that and then more, right? Because I actually did not want to be a podcaster, and I stick my foot in this water, and it's starting to take off too. But the way the way that I project myself on air and on live and on camera, I am equally hard, if not harder, on myself before I project that to the public.
So I'm the same way. So I'm in the financial sector myself. So I really don't tell. I'm not gonna tell people where I work, but I'm in the financial world. I've been in the financial world for quite a few years now. I wanted to dip my toe in the podcasting thing because I talk to people for a living. That's what I do every day.
Right.
And I talk to people from all walks of life. I talk to people who are worth hundreds of millions of dollars down to a person who's only worth $10. I treat them all the same, with that same level of respect that they all deserve. And I guess this is why I wanted to do what I'm doing now and talk to people like you, because you are the emphasis of up and comer. You're the one that people need to hear about, your success story, how you started and where you are now and how you got there. This is the point of the podcast. This is why I chose to do this specific niche that I'm in, is talking to people like you who have a story to tell, who are on the way up, who are not quite at the top of the mountain yet, but you're almost there. And this is a story that people want to hear because they want to know the struggle. They want to know how you got there. So the folks that don't know you, which is rare because you're all over the place. So there's a ton of people that know you already. What has been your pain point so far, trying to build yourself up and especially dealing with all the media platforms that's out there? What has been the biggest pain point for you?
The biggest pain point is, again, it's self-imposed. My biggest pain point has been finding the motivation to like edit, right? Like I love producing the content, love having conversations, but the marketing that goes along with it, they're like constantly 24/7 in your face, and like fake support.
100%.
Whereas like, hey, look, I'll jump on your live and I'll show support, right? And I'll be active inside of your live commenting, because for those of y'all who don't know, people keep wondering why Instagram lives get cut off at like a certain time. It's because the engagement is down. So if I'm enjoying your conversation, I'm going to be chatting. I'm going to send the hearts up the side. I'm going to cause some controversy, let you respond back and forth, because all of that counts as engagement. And the more your engagement's up, the longer Instagram will let your live go. So that's
what I've been doing. That's what I like. Every time you jump on, I make comments because I see what you're doing and I see the conversation and I want to engage in that stuff. I haven't done an IG live yet myself. I'm just not at that point yet where I can feel, I'm just be honest with you, I'm not at that point yet where I can feel confidence where there's going to be enough people on there watching it. Because you only see, a lot of times in these IG lives, unless you're got the blue check mark, you're not going to get 500, 600 people looking at you during the IG live. But the energy you bring to everyone, it doesn't matter if there's one person watching or 12 people watching or 100 people watching. I respect that energy that you constantly bring to those interviews.
Well, you gotta, man, because you never. There's a financial guy who said this: never underestimate what you have to do for free today to do for $1 million later. Mm-hmm. Right. In other words, it doesn't matter. And I learned that actually from professional wrestling, right? Like coming up on the indie scene, sometimes there's 3 people in the gym, right? But everybody, each one of those people have a cell phone. right? So at that, they have a million people at their fingertips at all times, right? So I can't afford to screw up a spot or, half-ass or mail the match in. So if I'm going out there and I'm doing that dangerously in front of 3 people when, I have 5,000 followers, 20 or 30 or, sometimes 40 will jump in alive, right? I owe them that because they're taking time out of their day to invest into what I have going on, right? And to hear what I have to say. So it's bullshit for me to half-ass it because there's only 5 people in the room. No, you're going to get the same smoke. And then once I run the clip and cut that down to a 30-second reel, that's going to reach 30, 40, 50, 5,000 other people. Like if you go back and look at some of the other lives on my personal page, you'll see they got 3,400 views, 2,300 views. And this is all after the fact. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So when I go live, I'm going with the intent that, somebody important is going to see it. That's why I show up to interviews dressed in a shirt and a tie. Like the coat's actually on this chair right here, right?
And I respect that 100% because I'm the same way. So when I do an interview, like I did an interview with this guy called Flat Earth Dave. He was a flat earther. It's on my YouTube page. The comments were everybody was trying to, discredit this man, which is fine. I mean, everybody's to own opinion, but a lot of people were saying how professional I was. Yeah, that's the point. If I'm going to have you on, I'm not going to down talk you. I'm going to let you say your piece. I'm going to let you say what you want to say. That's the point of having you on the show, is show that person you're interviewing the respect that they deserve and let them get their perspective and their point across without having to downgrade anybody. And I think a lot of the times these IGers, these people who start becoming influencers and start getting a following, forget where they come from and forget how hard it is to get to that level that they've been at. And they don't help open doors for anybody else. They don't collaborate with people as much anymore because they think they've reached a certain level. And now it's just all about what they want to do. You understand where I'm coming from?
Oh, 100%. But see, that's the thing. That's a sign of saying that you're not ready. You're not ready. So when you go to, these top wrestling, and I keep referencing that because I think that's one.
Yeah,
that's a sign that you're not ready. Or when you're going, and even in the military, when you're going up like for officer packages, or they want to make you sailor of the quarter, or there's a board where you have to present yourself and sell yourself, and you have to act like the pay grade that you're attempting to get to. In other words, when I walk into a venue to go wrestle, right, everyone's there not to see me, but they bought a ticket to see, hey, look, I'm kind of an attraction. You know what I'm saying? Dude that can run his mouth, got a nice physique, what have you, right? But I shake the guy who's sweeping the floor's hand just as quickly as I shake the owner's hand, because that guy matters. And if you don't have that mentality in terms of collaboration, in terms of who you're willing to talk to, sit down, and show respect to, then you're not ready to be at the level that you think that you are. And that's going to quickly spread because at a fingertip, man, like you could stop this interview right now and text 50 people, hey man, don't ever interview DeJuan. He's trash. Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if I wanted to, yeah, but I wouldn't do that though, because that's not how I feel. Even if I did feel that way, I still wouldn't do that. You know why? Because I don't want to ever hurt somebody's momentum trying to go up there. I may have let's say if I have personal feelings, those personal feelings are going to stay personal feelings. I'm never going to let that interfere with somebody's professional life. You know why? Because to me, that's petty. That's everybody needs to eat. You understand where I'm coming from? I don't have to like you to still want to see you eat.
Let's see that there's a sign that you're ready for the next level, right? Like business and emotion don't get along. Mm-hmm. They're literally oil and butter, right? So like I'm friends with my co-host on GROWNmanlogic, right? But if you remember, we started out with 4 and now we're down to 3.
Yeah.
Right. But the person that left, I'm like, that person could call me today. Like, hey, I need some help, and I got their back. It's just professionally we didn't work out. So you can't mix the business and the personal. But I think that's what happens a lot of the times with these Instagrammers and these influencers. They get there and their emotions and their ego gets involved with securing a bag.
Yeah, so I kind of had a situation like that. I got kind of upset because there was a IG live going on. And the person was talking about business, and this is what I do for a living. And they were giving out false information, and I'm in the IG chat, and I'm like, no, you don't need this to do this, and no, you don't need that. And I caught myself, and I stopped. And what I did is I privately sent her a message. Okay, and I was like, listen, I said, I do this for a living. The information you're giving out is not correct. If you need the correct information, I can give it to you so you can give it to your followers. They seen the message, didn't bother responding. I took it as you do what you want to do. I'm trying to help you, like, especially something that I do for a living every day. And I know that information you're giving out is not correct. That kind of irked me a little bit. And then when I try to reach out to give you an olive branch to say, hey, listen, I can school you on this stuff, you don't want to listen. So it's just, for that, it's just time to move on and just drop it and let it go. But I think that's the biggest issue that I find on IG is people say they want to collab with you and people say they want to work with you, but it's far few between when they actually do it. Like you, Brandon Janu, like he's there. You guys are always willing to work with anybody that wants to work with you. And I appreciate that stuff. And that's the kind of stuff that makes me want to keep going, doing what I'm doing, even when I have situations like that where you try to reach out and try to help somebody, they don't want to listen.
Yep. See, here's the thing. And here's where my delivery comes in, right? Because had that situation happened to me, the next live that I have, I'm throwing smoke. because you do far. I think that if you have the correct information and you witness somebody that gives out false information and you do nothing about it, you're just as guilty as the person giving the false information because you didn't correct them and you have it, right? And at the end of the day, us on platforms, we're responsible for giving accurate information to people, especially when it comes to business, especially when it comes to money, because you, as you know, in the financial sector, if you fuck up in business, if you screw up in business, right, that's like playing Jeopardy, right? Like if you miss the question, you're losing money, right?
Absolutely.
It's not like your profit total stay the same and your bottom line stays the same, because if you miss the mark on this and you have me paying for an unnecessary license, or you have me thinking I'm a CEO when I only own an LLC, right? You know what I'm saying? That's bad information.
It's bad information. It is bad information. I was going to try I'm actually working on a podcast now for businesses for how to open a proper business, LLC, sole proprietorship. There's a ton of different labels that you can do. And I was working on that I just felt like I didn't want to take away from her shine, from her. And I don't know if it's just my nature. Like I want to see people do well. And I think sometimes I'm a little too unselfish sometimes. But this is why I like you and your approach, because you don't care. Like if you don't like something, you're gonna say it.
Yeah. But here's it. Like I think so it's a double-edged sword, right? Because like you said, like a lot of people have a problem with my delivery, right? A lot of people don't realize that I'm open-minded and I'm willing to change my mind and view it from your perspective. It's just that if I have an issue with you, right, or an issue with something that you said, I'm gonna bring it up. Let's get clarity. That's my ultimate goal, is clarity, right? And like in your situation, that's horrible to put out bad business information, right? Because now you have people attempting to do things that they don't need, spending money that they don't need when the money is scarce as it is, right? And then now after that, you have to worry about, okay, what's this tax code? What's like, how am I going to write this off? It's way deeper than just, I'm going to jump on here and I look important and I wear a tie, so I'm going to give you like business. No, that's bullshit, right? So like at that point, I feel like it's your responsibility because you work in the sector and you have the platform. I feel like it's your responsibility to say something. Now you don't necessarily have to throw the person under the bus. But you approach it, hey, look, I witnessed a live, you know what I'm saying, and this and this and this was said, and I just want to kind of clear it up. Boom. That's it. You kept the relationship intact because you didn't say he was giving out the bad information, and you put out the accurate information for overall for the community. Because ultimately, if you have a platform and you're not doing anything for your community, why the hell do you have a platform?
Yeah, I understand. But this is exactly why I do have my platform, because I try to give people a voice that wouldn't necessarily have one, because everybody has different viewership. Your viewers are different than my viewers. It's just as simple as that. But when we can cross over, that benefits everybody, because cross promotion benefits everybody. Because I'm going to post this on my YouTube channel and I'm going to direct people to your YouTube channel, because your link is going to be in the bio, that, my description that I'm going to put up. So of course I'm going to promote you as well. And it'd be the same thing. It's like, as well as be promoting the podcast because it'll be up tomorrow, by the way, for promoting the podcast. I think cross promotion tends to help a lot more than it hurts. But I think some people have this me first mentality that I think hurts us long term. The money's there. if we work together, everybody can get that and everybody can eat. But I think sometimes everybody has this me first mentality. Well, if I get here, forget y'all. I don't understand. It's always bothered me. I grew up in the 90s, man. I'm a 90s and 80s kid. So my mentality is completely different. I was raised in a culture where, man, if you come up, try to bring as many people with you. You don't got to sit at my table to eat with me, but I still want you to eat. And I've always had the mentality, but I don't know, man. It gets frustrating sometimes. How do you deal with that?
You kind of just block out the noise, man, and remember why you did it. There are times when, like, you get burnt out, you're frustrated, right? And I'm in a group text with my co-host, like, I don't believe with these moves. Can you right? But I can vent that out, right? I can vent that out in the text. Sometimes it requires a phone call. They got to talk me down off the ledge, right? Because like, I'll be on Twitter on one campaign, on Instagram on one campaign, Mary in my Twitter and my Instagram on Facebook, and then drop like a VSOP lounge over on YouTube, right? Like, and it'll all be like subliminal. And they just like, hey man, you might want to, and I'm just like, you know what, you're right. But they bring perspective, and ultimately, like I said, I never wanted to be a podcaster, like, in the very beginning. And actually, the person that's no longer with Grown Man Logic is the person that put Grown Man Logic together.
Nice,
right? So it's crazy. So at the end of the day, what's the goal, right? The goal is to build better people, but hold people accountable and make people think critically. So you don't have to agree with me. And in fact, I don't want people to agree with me. A lot of the times, I just want you to open your mind to a different way of thinking.
And I appreciate that. So let me ask you a question. So what we talked about the biggest pain point for you since starting this whole thing for you and building. What is your ultimate goal with this thing? Are you trying to stay in this lane? Are you trying to go full-time doing your books? Are you trying to go full-time entertainer? Because wrestling is entertainment. I mean, it is entertainment. Are you trying to go? What is the ultimate goal for Grown Man Logic, the Grown Man Logic podcast?
To be picked up by a major network where we're sitting in the same rooms as the Breakfast Club. We're sitting in the same room as Joe Rogan. We're sitting in the same room as Pat McAfee. There's podcast awards on the level that we're on, but we're trying to be on the next one where we can do this for somebody else, right? And there's talks of like reality TV. There's talk, like, dude, there's so much stuff that happens behind the scenes, right? I'm always like, truthfully, it's funny, right? So the first time that I came in a suit and tie on a live, right? Because if you go back and look at early Grown Man Logic, it was me. I had a t-shirt on, hat backwards, like this, that, and the third. But like one live, I came in from like a business. I was actually at a business meeting, and trying to promote the brand and like build some stuff. And I didn't have time to change, so I just took the coat off, sat down, did it, right. And then somebody hit me in the DMs and was like, "Yo, that's an accurate representation of the brand. Like, do that every time." So I was like, okay, cool, boom. So I took that, constructive criticism and was like, all right, cool, right? But there's so much stuff going on behind the scenes. Like, I wish that I could spill it, but there are meetings coming up. You're gonna see Grown Man Logic bigger, but ultimately, I want to conquer one level and just move on to the next one. Like, I feel like that if I'm the smartest person, or if we're the best podcast in the room, it's time to find another room.
So one of the things that I agree with you is I want to do this full time. So the one thing I dislike when people say there's no money in podcasting, that's BS. A young lady just signed a $60 million deal with Spotify to do her podcast. Their money's there. There's $6 billion.
I mean, not to mention, sorry to cut you off, but Grown Man Logic just received a check from Mark Zuckerberg. So there is money in podcasting.
Yeah, there's money in podcasting. You just have to find that niche, and you have to find when you fit in. So like with me, the reason I wear this hat. If you look at all my videos, they're not that are all my podcast videos. I always wear this hat. And the reason I always wear this hat is because I need to look at myself better than what I typically see myself. We're kings. We just have to start acting like we're kings. We need to start acting like we can handle our business, and we can do the things that everybody says we can't. Nobody thought I was going to be able to be where I'm in life right now. Like, I can't complain where I'm at. You always want to be better. You always want to be in a better situation, but man, I can't complain, man. I'm here. I'm healthy. I have my house. I have my wife. I have my kids. I have a great paying job. I, just got promoted to another level. But
Congrats.
they appreciate it. But this right here is what I want to do full time. I want to keep putting out content. Don't get me wrong. Like, everybody's going to progress faster on a different level. Like, you're progressing faster and you just started. I started last year doing my podcast, but I didn't start my YouTube channel till later on. I had COVID in the beginning of the year, so that knocked me out of the box for 2 months. I was, it was critical. I was in the hospital. I honestly thought I was going to die. That's how bad it was. But I'm grateful for where I'm at right now. I'm grateful for in a month, I got 82 subs, 84 subs already on YouTube. And that's just me promoting myself. That's just me putting, my content out there, just talking to people, meeting people. It's all about how much effort you put into what you're doing. You can't make excuses. You're going to have good months. You're going to have bad months. And if you get to where you need, if you get, like, especially for you, I'm hoping you guys make it to that next level. I'm going to be rooting you guys on. Like I said, I want to see everybody succeed. And I won't hate. And I think sometimes people get mad when somebody else supersedes them in their career and what they're trying to do. Why? I don't understand that. Why? You're going to get there at some point. Most podcasts end after 7 episodes. You know why? Because people can't continue to do good content. It's hard to do this. It's not an easy thing to do. You have to constantly keep putting out good content. People get tired of you. Some people get tired of you. Some people don't want to hear you.
Let me jump in. I think that it's difficult to do when you're not authentic, right? And the reason I say that is because, like, we can map out like there's like literally Grown Man Logic behind the scenes. We have a meeting, right, and we'll map out the topics for like the next month. Right. But if say if something else happens, right, or if, something that's triggering that happens, right, and we can just swap too. OK, look, we got to have, like, every month we sit down. We have a self-help episode, a relationship episode, a Black culture, and a social justice episode every month. Right. Those are our 4 Thursdays. Right. Our Mondays are kind of free for alls. Right. And our YouTubes are kind of free for alls. Mm-hmm. But those are like, giving back to the community mostly. Like, that's where you see, Private Stock versus, VSOP Lounge versus, the Weekend Chaser versus, the Weekly Shot of Sanity. Right. And those, but like, all of them are authentic. So when I come up with a topic for Grown Man Logic, my co-hosts don't have the show notes. Mm. So they know what we're going to be talking about. So I may hit them up and be like, yo, okay, this week we're going to talk about crabs in a barrel. And that's all I'm going to give them. And what they come with is what they come with. They don't have the show notes, nor do they have the questions that I'm going to ask. But then it's also important that I'm invested in their personalities, because now if I need some controversy, I can play Eric against Kendra.
Right.
Because I know that she stands for this and I know that he stands for this. So now I'm going to ask a question to trigger one of them or trigger the other one, right? But that brings some heat. And at the end of the day, to them, it's authentic. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing Geppetto, right? so the conversation stays authentic, like, to the audience, because you're getting authentic reactions. And then like vice versa, because we're having a conversation, they'll ask me a question, and then that'll send me off on a tangent about something because I don't know what's in their mind, because we don't discuss the show prior to the show. It's kind of like, yo, here's the topic. That's all you're getting.
See, I do my things a little bit differently. It's like this conversation, I'm more organic. There's like, when we talked earlier today, he was like, what do you want to talk about? I said, I'm not, it's like me. I don't try to bring up a certain, like, if I'm by myself, I have a topic that I'll talk about. Like, if I'm just talking to myself in the camera, yes, I'll come up with a topic. But if I'm having an interview with someone like yourself, I want to know about you. I want to know about your strengths. I want to know about your failures. I want to know what has been, the toughest thing for you. What has been the thing that's gotten you over the top. I want you to talk about you. I want to ask those questions so the audience gets to know you. That's the point of my podcast. Everybody's podcast is built differently. Yours is built the way it's built, and it's been successful the way it's built. Mine has been starting to get successful because of the platform that I have, interviewing people like you. I'm not comfortable when I'm talking to myself. Some people are. I like talking to people. I'm a people person. I've always been. I'm an extrovert. Let me have those conversations. Let's chop it up. Like, if in all reality, if I really wanted to, man, we could sit here for 3 hours and keep having a conversation, because that's just who I am.
Right.
But you have to know when. You have to know what's working for you and what's not working for you. So the biggest thing for your guys' podcast that seems to work is the three-headed monsters, the 3-person dynamic that you guys have. And then you have the female voice in there as well with Kendra. how has that helped develop Grown Man Logic as a whole?
She keeps us honest. And she also jumps in and like brings balance, right? So it'd be easy for, you know, two guys to sit on a live and like bash women, right? Like it'd be easy, right? But instead, she's like, no, it's not like that. Most women think like this, or some women think like this, and some women think like this. And ultimately what that evolved into is when like we're sitting up there, okay, my dating experience says this, Eric's dating experience says this, and now Kendra's like, okay, well, my dating experience, I've dealt with a guy like this and I've dealt with a guy like that. So now we're able to ask her questions. And so the females feel represented, so they don't feel bashed, right? They don't and she's bringing, and she has an energy. She takes no bullshit. So like it's kind of like she matches my level of candor and my level of standing in the paint and sticking to the point, right? So she keeps us honest, man. Like I think that like just like you said, I think grown it's crazy because Grown Man Logic does not work without her.
I mean, you have a point. So let everybody know what kind of projects you have coming up. If you certain projects that you can talk about. I mean, what do you have coming up for yourself? What does Grown Man have Logic have? What does DeJuan J have in the works for himself as well? Not just Grown Man Logic. What do you have in the works individually for yourself for the next steps that you're going to take?
Okay, so the next steps kind of take so there was an additional spoken word album that was supposed to come out by the end of the year. Due to COVID, it's not going to happen. So Valentine's Day, Have You Ever Made Love to a Poet? The spoken word album will be out summer of next year. The book Grown Man Logic: The Art of Applying Pressure will be out. Spring of 2022. I'm in a movie called Birth. That'll be out. But more I guess closer is come Thanksgiving, we're actually going to start taking donations next week, and our goal is to feed 1,000 families in the 3 states that we live in. So we're going to start asking for donations from like our listeners and small Black businesses to kind of contribute, and we're going to donate to women's shelters and veterans shelters and things like that, and we're just basically $60 per card or something like that, and we're going to go in and just hand them out and supply Thanksgiving meals for those less fortunate than us. And then we're going to do a toy drive around Christmas centered around like the same thing. Right now, we're just putting the steps in place because we're trying to coordinate between California, Ohio, and Virginia. So, but those are the next things that are coming up, because I think that you can't jump on a platform and be for the community and not actually give back. So, Grown Man Logic, we're gonna lead the charge in independent podcast and giving back to the community. So, that's what's coming up. So stay tuned for the flyers and things of that nature. Asking for the donations, and if you want to support. If not, hey, we get it. Just share the flyer. That costs nothing. And yeah, man, we're gonna get it done. And then I'll eventually get back to wrestling once the world is open back up again, man. So yeah, between the album, between the book, between promoting the movie, a toy drive, a food drive, and trying to bring quality content to the people, man, I'm pretty much
book solid,
90
basically.
miles an hour. Yeah, pretty much, man.
So where can everybody find you? What are the platforms that you're on the most? What are your handles? I'm obviously going to put your link tree in the description in the YouTube page, but where can people find you right now if they see this video tomorrow and they want to click and see where you're at? Okay,
DeJuan O'Neal 1 on Instagram. That's DeJuan Oneal, the number 1. That's my personal page. Obviously, the Grown Man Logic podcast page is on Instagram. Grown Man Logic podcast on Twitter, or DeJuan O'Neal 22N on Twitter, and on YouTube, Grown Man Logic podcast. We upload to YouTube every Wednesday and Sunday. We are live on Instagram every Monday and Thursday, and I tweet like 3 or 4 times a week to just stir the pot a little bit. Also, get you a copy of Dear Dominic, available on Amazon.com right now, and BTKM The Premonition on all streaming platforms, including YouTube.
So, folks, this has been the Frank and Francisco podcast. DeJuan J, I appreciate you coming on, man. It's been a pleasure having you on. You are welcome back on anytime you want to stir the pot. By all means, come on in. Thanks, folks, for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Take it easy.